What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Figure It Out, the show where we say a lot of inappropriate things right before we hit the record button. I'm Joe. With me, as always, Mike and Tyler. Fellas, we got Toy Fair. Is it the New York Toy Fair coming up this weekend or something? So we're probably going to do a video, maybe two, about that. But in the meantime, we thought we would kick it old school and do another squad series. But before we get into that, do we have any new acquisitions?
So go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I don't. I have a few. And actually, one of them I don't have opened yet. So I got the that 3-pack with the Crimson Baroness and the Crimson Twins. I think it was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So I ordered that. It has arrived. So I've got that. I picked up a couple of classified figs that are Lucy's. They're both complete, but I won't tell all those things. So I got the Prophet Director Destro, which I think is a really cool figure. I really wish, I need some soft goods for this, so I need to find a leopard print, bow fur, something. Because with soft goods, this would be 10 out of 10 figure. But good looking fig. And then I got the this guy who I really like.
Oh yeah.
So he's the driver for the Tiger Force ATV. Tiger Cat. There you go. I actually forget what his name is, which is sad because he's a really cool looking figure though.
Because that's a new Firefly mold.
Yes,
and Tiger Force dirt colors, which looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice fig. So I've got the Tiger Force ATV. I just haven't opened it. It's in my pile of shame of things that I have not. I'm not a mint box guy. I just literally haven't had time or space to display this stuff. If I do open it, I'm glad to have this fig because I haven't opened that, and so being able to lay hands on that and kind of look it over, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it's a sharp looking fig. So anyway, gosh, I don't have it right here in front of me. I did go to Ross the other day and scored a extra retro card to Beachhead. So happy to get another one of those. Love Beachhead, love my guy. Yep. Wreckage is this guy's name.
That's it.
Wreckage. So I think that's. Oh, and the Sergeant Slaughter. I got the Sergeant Slaughter that's been floating around at Ross too. Which
the Slaughter's Marauders one.
Yeah, the blue tank top,
blue shirt. Yeah.
Yep. So
cool.
Those things are at Ross. If anybody's out there hunting, I've actually been out there. I've been looking for a couple other figures that are supposed to pop up there, and I haven't found them. So, but I'm very happy with those two scores. So, anyway, that's it for me.
Good deal, Mike. You got anything?
I just want to piggyback on Tyler real quick. If you're out and about, at Ross and wherever, Ollie's, and you see a Spirit and Lowlight Slaughter's Marauders,
they're in a 2-pack,
please. Yeah, they're in a 2-pack. I can't stand Slaughter in the cartoon. In person, seems like a really cool dude, but it's
they put
Tyler
him over
talking,
too strong.
Yeah, Tyler and I were talking about it. He was like the ultimate Mary Sue in the movies. I kind of never liked him. His character in the cartoon, I'm sure from what I've seen, he's been a cool dude. But
yeah,
just the way
I think it's the opposite.
Anyway.
I thought they Gary Stewed him in his first appearance, where he rolls up and takes out 30 bats, it's the Royal Rumble, and then he progressively kind of they chill him out a little bit to where in the movie I actually really liked his characterization.
Yeah.
He was a lot more toned down, but still he had that dog in him.
Very over the top.
Super over the top.
Too much.
Yeah. But anyway, here we go. So this is going to make Tyler upset. I got the mall vintage collection. I know Tyler has a hot take.
Yeah. The great looking fig. I love Darth Maul as a character. I just think when you get cut in half and thrown down a bottomless shaft, you die. That's just a thing that I happen to believe. Even if you're a super powerful Sith, I think you die.
I think cut in half, you still survive. But bottomless pit, bottomless shaft, reactor shaft, that's the one that used to be the equivalent of the lightsaber through the gut. It was the kiss of death. Now in Disney Star Wars, that's, I guess, no longer the case.
Well, explain to me this, and maybe I'm misremembering. Qui-Gon stabbed in the chest. Does he fall in that same pit?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. He stays out there. So one hole we're saying one hole in the abdomen is less survivable than being literally cut in half. And I'm going to argue that
I never said you were wrong.
I know you did. I know you didn't. And here's the thing, guys. I really like Darth Maul. I thought he was when I went and saw the prequels. Like, man, that's a really cool apprentice, and it really sucks that he died in this movie. But I hate that they brought him back. Maybe I'm a hypocrite because I didn't so much hate that they brought Boba Fett back after he got eaten by the Sarlacc in Legends storytelling. Mm-hmm. But they did go out of their way to point out that the Sarlacc is very slow in digesting its food, so there's very real chance he could survive that. Whereas again, you get cut in half.
I mean, cut in half. One of those, there's no vital organs though. So it's one of those things where the reactor shaft is the thing that would have killed him.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
The impact whenever he goes splat.
I would argue he definitely lost some intestines, large and small. So I mean, I think there's definitely some stuff there. And then when there's nothing down there to hold your stuff in, and your guts come out, anyway, maybe that's not how it happens. I don't know. I know lightsabers cauterize wounds, but that's a big. And again, if Qui-Gon gets stabbed in the abdomen, he didn't get stabbed in the heart. He got stabbed in the abdomen. So anyway,
the thing that bothers me about the Qui-Gon death is I didn't question it at all until Ahsoka and until the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, when we started seeing people get stabbed in the exact same place, be able to just literally walk it off. And it's this doesn't agree with what's previously established.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Qui-Gon might have just let go.
Could have.
Yeah. Well, also the script needed it to happen, because at the end of the day, the Duel of the Fates was a metaphor for how Anakin was going to turn out. So, and also we've never heard anything about Qui-Gon in episodes 4, 5, and 6. So you already knew he wasn't making it out. So it's,
I get what you're saying. Anyway, but I'm gonna
get us back on track, Mike.
I always wanted to know what Quinlan Vos was doing on Tatooine. I always wanted to know,
because his little brief cameo, blink and you miss it, you cameo.
If you know,
he's just a background
drop it
character.
in the comments. I always wanted to know. But anyway, so after that, just completed the purchase on this Shockwave. I really dig the mold, because it's, the Beachhead and Firefly mold, plus it's Night Force. And it was really hard to get those specialty things growing up. So I kind of nerd out. And this guy, my long storied history with Omega Supreme.
You got a new one?
Yeah. When I bought it to have the Lucy, I bought two. One I had shipped to me so I could see it. And then one was on my pile of loot. Well, it was around Christmas time. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just buy one, send it now. And then I was it Toby Keith's eating chips and queso, and decided, hey, I want a second. And I put it on my pile of loot thinking, hey, I'm going to order my brothers or someone a Christmas present and I'll be able to combine my shipping. Never did it. And then they were like, Big Bad Toy Store was like, hey man, your stuff is expired. So we're charging you tax and shipping, and we're sending it your way. And I was like, surely Past Me wasn't this smart. But sure enough, Past Me was, and there it was.
No, I remember that.
And I was like, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I remember that conversation, because I happened to just randomly be looking at it on Big Bad Toy Store, and I sent a screenshot, and I was like, hey, I don't know who's interested, but it looks like Big Bad Toy Store still has some Omega Supremes left. And there was a pause, and you were like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, man, I wouldn't joke about this. And then you're like, I just got another one.
Yeah, I did. So I always say, if you don't know what you have in your collection or what you have pre-ordered, it's not a collection. I violated the rule, and I don't regret it. And it was around the holiday times, so everything's a little chaotic. Oh no, I forgot one thing that was shipping to me that I already paid for.
Nope.
I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to show the same grace that I show everyone else.
There you go.
I told Mike it's not this, but it's almost like he got it for free because he'd already paid for it and forgot about it. So
yeah.
Free Omega Supreme. Do not operate with that mentality, though. That's dangerous.
Man, I paid for it and I forgot about it, like Tyler said to.
It's free.
He said it was free.
It's free. That counts as free. Honey, that counts as free because I forgot about it.
That's collector math.
All right. Well, from collector math to doomsday, sad day scenarios, we are talking Squad series today. And when I came up with this series, specifically like the G.I. Joe Squad series, this was This was the prompt that I came up with first. This was also the team I selected first, and it was also the fastest list I've ever selected.
Wow.
So, without further ado, let's get into it. But real quick, if you're new, Squad Series is a little episode format that we do in the show where we read a prompt and we pick 5 characters who we think best fit that scenario, and we explain our rationale and why we picked them. And it's mostly just a good time when we do it for the lulz. So, real quick, that's not what I want. Here we go. All right. Soul Survivors. Last one out, get the lights. The war on Cobra is over, and Cobra won. In this nightmarish hellscape, the ruthless terrorist organization has defeated the daring, highly trained special mission force known as G.I. Joe. With the shield that guarded the free world, little more than a paragraph in the history books, there were none to stand in the way of Cobra Commander's rise to power. The remaining nations of the world have pledged loyalty to Cobra, if only just to get to see another day. When the game is over, there's nothing left to do but to settle up. In this one world under Cobra, there is no hope of victory, only retribution. With all of the Joes presumed killed in action, a mysterious homing signal pulses deep from the pit. This signal is heavily encoded and broadcast across several G.I. Joe emergency channels, all saying the same word, home. A group of 5 Joes still live and answer the call. Who are you choosing to survive the purge? What is your methodology and rationale? Do all of them achieve their goals? Do all of them make it through alive? So I feel like this is uniquely suited for Tyler's kind of ideal scenarios.
I am a fan of the post-apocalyptic, bad guys have won, what do we do now scenarios. Yeah, I love it. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, if you want to, for sure.
Sure. Okay, so I will agree as far as when I sat down and built this. Well, I don't know. My Barroom Brawlers team came together pretty darn quick. That was, for me, that felt pretty good. It was pretty quick. But this might be the second quickest one that came together for me. Because the scenario you've described, basically, all the Joes are dead. There's 5 that survive, presumably. Presumably, they're all dead. There's only 5 that survive. And to me, you can make on my list is maybe an argument for 1 or 2 that you might say, maybe not. But the other ones the other 3 are like, yeah, duh. So I'm gonna start off with number 5. That's Lady J. She's a undercover specialist, trained actress, mimic. Like she can do all kinds of blending in.
Heck yeah.
Blend in, disappear kind of thing. So Cobra has won or is winning, and the time has come to do what you can, and then that is to survive. If you wanted to get some revenge, the first thing you have to do is survive. So I think Lady J would be able to do that, would be able to disappear into a crowd and pick her moment to come back out and do some damage if or when she wanted to. I could see her starting up a resistance group and leading. I'm thinking kind of like French resistance during World War II here. Type of guerrilla resistance group. Not gonna do anything to actually impact. Well, they were never gonna do anything to recover the country from the Germans, but they certainly did a lot of things to harm the Germans and hurt their war effort and just basically cause as much mayhem and death for the Germans as they could. So that's the kind of thing that I see happening here. You're not gonna win, but you can hurt Cobra in the process. So number 4 for me, my boy, my favorite, my opinion, best of the best, Beachhead. He ain't going down. It ain't happening. Beachhead's going to survive. He'll find a way.
Like in his comic. Like
I was about to say, in fact, if you go look at the silent issue Beachhead, that's basically it. Yeah, it's so good. And the dude's going to survive. I don't care what you do to him. Let's go back to the beginning of the episode. If it was Beachhead that got cut in half and not Darth Maul, I'd be like, yeah, of course he survived. Anyway, Beachhead's gonna live. Dude's gonna he's as tough as they come, and he's gonna find a way to survive. Number 3 for me is Spirit. Spirit.
This is a group of bangers.
Yeah, this was kind of my ace list of all the lists I put together. Look, Spirit's a cracker, among other things. And if there's anybody that knows how to avoid being tracked and knows how to go hide, it's somebody who is a tracker. They know what to do to disappear when they need to, and how to keep people from getting on the trail. So Spirit could disappear into any national forest in the United States, and you'd never see him again if he didn't want to be seen. So among other places he could hide, but the Spirit would have no problem surviving and disappearing. And then the reality is, all the time that Cobra might think they're tracking him, he's really tracking them. So again, a great potential to cause a lot of mayhem. Number 2 for me, I'm going to Clutch. I think if you're looking at guys that are going to survive in a post-apocalyptic, world that's falling apart, somebody who has mechanical skill, work on vehicles, has a pretty tremendous leg up on a lot of other people. So, let him throw him into any trailer park, any junkyard, any place around the country. He's going to find the parts he needs to cobble together a vehicle and get himself to where he needs to get to. So I like his abilities to go do that. I like the mechanical skills at least I picture them as tremendously valuable and something that's going to allow him to escape and evade as needed. And then number 1 for me, the most unkillable G.I. Joe, the guy that's they thought they'd killed him many times, and they have failed. Snake Eyes. He
is the rooster of the G.I. Joes.
That's correct. Rooster is the apt term. He ain't gonna die. So Snake Eyes survives, and those are the 5 Joes that, in my opinion, survive this scenario. The real question is, when they get the beacon, assuming all of them in some way, somehow receive the emergency beacon from the pit, do they go back? Is this obviously a trap? Is it legit? Do we have somebody who's calling them home? It's funny that we're talking about the prequels at the beginning of this, because, that's one of the first things that Obi-Wan and Yoda did, was turn off the beacon, calling the Jedi back to the temple, because that was a trap. They set up the beacon to call them home so that they could wipe them out.
And that's something you could explore in your comic book, is why they would go. And what would their motivations be? Because I mean, it could obviously be a trap, like you said, and the Joes aren't stupid.
Yeah, 100%. And for the record, in my universe that I am crafting up here, it is a trap. They assume it's a trap, and they go anyway. Because what if it's not? Like the tiniest chance that it is not a trap is worth the risk to that team of 5 people, in my opinion. And so they find a way to connect, and they get to the pit. And to answer your question, which is kind of the end, do they survive? The answer is not all of them. Not all of them. In my world, Snake Eyes and Spirit and Beachhead live. Lady J and Clutch die. Very likely in an effort to enable Snake Eyes and Spirit and Beachhead to get away. Beachhead's probably wounded really, really, really severely, but he gets away. So
anyway, throw down a reactor shaft.
Correct.
Man, I didn't think that was going to be like a trope of the episode. Jeez.
It
is now. Yeah.
As long as it's fun. As long as it's fun.
Yeah. So that's my crew. That's who I like. I like their chances of surviving. And if I were going to write this, it would be very Days of Future Past, where it's over, the war's lost, and you're not going to win. But what you're trying to do is just inflict as much revenge and harm on Cobra as you possibly can. And I think that crew of 5 could do a lot of damage. That's it for me.
Righteous. Mike, you wanna hit us with yours?
Yeah.
You've been champing at the bit.
Mine is very, very, very different from Tyler. So in my world,
it's just the rawhides.
Cobra Commander has taken over, but it's very political. So if you agree with Cobra Commander and you're okay with just not having personal freedoms and things like that, then you're fine. But if you don't, then you're targeted, killed, hung publicly. It's a bad time to disagree with Cobra Commander. And another question so it's very political. So a lot of Americans have went to other countries seeking asylum and, to no avail, right? Because Cobra is worldwide, like Amazon. So that's kind of how some of the Joes died. I'm not going to say all of them, just because a lot of them just kind of said, hey, we lost. And I didn't go full dystopian, just put it to where they walked away. Hey, I've got kids, I've got a family. We lost this one. And a major question that I wanted to ask during this, and, kind of world building question, is what did Cobra Commander do to win? What lengths did he go? And the first thing I wanted to ask myself is, he's probably tried to mass kill the Joes. but you're talking about killing Joes, right? So that's not the individual, right? You're not going to kill G.I. Joe. But what you can do is you can kill the name G.I. Joe, if that makes sense. So he discredited them somehow, and he made them the villain along the way. So how did he do that? Espionage, political means. So things like that, right? So G.I. Joe was kind of treated like the Jedi, right? They were kind of disgraced. And so they were like, hey, we're not supported. We're disbanded. There's no more federal government. So we need to just disappear. Also, so now that Cobra Commander has full reign, he's not going to want to share his control. So he offed his lieutenants because he doesn't want anyone close to him. So in my world, he's killed people like Wild Weasel. He's killed people like Destro. He's killed Major Blood.
That hurts my feelings.
He's killed everyone but my leader. And I know Tyler's going to hate this even more. I'm going to use my one-time villain, because I don't really consider Storm Shadow like a full-time villain, because he's switched sides.
This is you're using your hear me out.
I'm using Baroness as my leader and the person that actually sent the signal out to the Joes.
Not as a trap?
Not as a trap.
So you're basing it off the two-parter episode.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That's good.
Exactly.
That's real good.
Exactly. So I know Tyler doesn't like redemptions, but this is like she's
killing her redemption at this point. Like it's just a turn of like a change of heart.
Well, if she wants to survive, she knows she's next.
Yeah, I was going to say if Cobra Commander is offering his officers, then she's got to be on that list. So that makes sense to me, and that I wouldn't consider that redemption as much as self-preservation.
And also, like you said, Cobra Commander killed Destro. Like that makes sense to me. So she has infiltrated the Joe base. She has flipped on the beacon, and she is wanting help because she's next, and a little bit of revenge. She wants to avenge Destro. So that is her motivation at the beginning. The next person, I needed a good foil, someone that would look out for the Joes, would gather intel, would be in the know, but wasn't a soldier that could think outside the box. So I picked Chuckles because Chuckles is a PI. He would have. So yeah, when you said rawhides, I was like, well, I have one. So I was like, yes, Chuckles would be able to kind of match intel versus intel with Baroness, because I mean, obviously you're not going to trust Baroness. Oh, hey, Baroness summoned it. I'm sure this is going to turn out great. So I needed someone that was going to naturally just disbelieve, but not be over the top about it. Like, hey, Baroness, I'm going to investigate you. He would be nice. Trust but verify.
But he would vet her, like a PI would. He'd be like, okay, so what's going on? She said this. Let me actually confirm that Destro is dead. Let me confirm that Major Blood is dead. All the stuff she's saying is true, right? So the next person, Joseph hit right on the head, the two-parter. I would pick Steeler. And this would be like my boring, love story and romantic stuff that probably dudes reading it would hate, but she would eventually turn into that, throughout the cartoon, kind of by the end, they would have their thing. So that was that. So my fourth person, my last two are just straight up survivalist, and they have such a terrain advantage that they could, Cobra would never get an advantage on them in their chosen environment. So my fourth one was Dusty, and he would obviously be the most open about not wanting to work for Baroness, but Chuckles would convince him that he needed someone to watch their back. And then my last one was Outback. So I would have, or not Outback, Snow Job, I'm sorry, because I would want to rebrand Snow Job because his file card is just fire. So, and also, if he's on skis, you're not going to catch him. I don't care what your robot, I don't care what your AI is. If he wanted to be out in the middle of nowhere in Canada up on a high hill where he has access to skis, Cobra's not going to catch him. So, also on his file card, it mentions that he's qualified expert on all NATO long-range sniper rifles and the XMLR laser rifle. so I could rebrand. And plus, Rock and Roll says they call him Snow Job for a reason because he's always conning and don't trust him at cards and things like that. So that would be my final guy because that would be kind of the funny thing to take the guy and just kind of put him in a regular terrain and just let him show his skills, outside of just being the biathlete. So that's my list. Tear it apart.
Not gonna. I don't think we've ever torn apart a list.
I don't think so either.
A good list.
Yeah.
At the conclusion of this, Joe, after you give yours, I want to nerd out about the scenario for a little bit, if you guys will indulge me.
Sounds good. Any
I like
list,
how Tyler is.
Any list that has Dusty on it is an immediate stamp of approval from me. So my list. So in mine, the pit signal saying home is a trap. However, it's a trap because real Joes know that the first home was Fort Wadsworth. So that is where my contingent of Joes will all rally up at. Starting with number 5, Mercer, ex-Cobra Viper who's seen the light. He knows how they operate. He knows the policies, procedures. He knows how they think, how they, take out enemies. He knows too much to have not seen this coming. However, that doesn't mean that the other renegades make it out. So, I guess with mine, it's all based off of loosely affiliated factions from the Joes. So representing the renegades, I've got Mercer. And so when he finally goes up and he gets revenge for Sergeant Slaughter, Taurus, Red Dog, all those guys, that's why he's there. However, he will not be making it out alive, but he will finish his mission. So number 2 is Beachhead, and he is going to be representing, sorry, Mike, the Rawhides. During a training exercise, Cobra comes, he's either Wild Weasel or somebody, bombs everybody, kills all of the Rawhides. And because I'm a monster, you see, actually, I'm not a monster. You're not going to see Order's body, but it's just understood that it's around somewhere. And then not just the Rawhides, though, but all of the other green shirts, all the new recruits, everybody at his firing lane that he is the lead instructor at, they are all gone. And it's just going to be a big, 2-page panel of him in the middle, staring out over just nothing but green shirts and Rawhides and just smoldering ruin. He is going to go full Denzel Washington in Man on Fire.
Yes.
I wish you had more time.
It's going to be rough. And he's going to have a couple scenes with another character, and it's just going to be the two of them basically being twin predators. And it's going to be too cool. My number 3 is, I guess I could, if I have to say hear me out, then I will. But it's going to be Storm Shadow.
He's a Joe. It's not a hero.
He's a Joe.
He's a Joe.
I mean, he was a Joe before, and how I rationaled this.
Yeah.
Well, not just that, but before G.I. Joe was formed, he was part of the Light Range Recon Patrol team with Stalker and Snake Eyes. So plus he's got those ties, but he's going to know where to go. He's going to meet up with them. But he's gonna go out and he's going to avenge his family, and because not only did they take out G.I. Joes, but Cobra Commander also took out Clan Arashikage, the entire order of ninjas. No more. So, if we thought we've seen Arashikage blood vendettas before, this is cranked to 11. And it's Storm Shadow, and as far as his costume, it's basically, it would be the same white, but he would have Snake Eyes' visor thing, just as a homage, and it'd be so cool. Number 4, and this is the one who is the first one who shows up, is the one who's basically helping everybody plan and do what they're going to do, like kind of like the leader of the team, Sergeant Stalker. He is representing the OG-13 and also just all of the other regular Joes. He was there at the beginning. He's going to be there at the end. We're going to get a good reunion scene with Stalker and Storm Shadow. They're each going to know what's at stake. Beachhead and Stalker are going to have like a really cool sequence where they're just terrorizing Cobras, and because they're both Army Rangers. Fair. Yeah, like they're both Army Rangers, fair. And it's like
really cool visual. It's not fair on the page. It'd be really cool pages to see
for sure
in a comic,
for sure, or like comic, movie, like even a book, like you can see it.
I don't know about a movie. That's too much to ask. An actual good G.I. Joe movie.
Honestly, I have ideas for that, but let me get through this. So Sergeant Stalker, he's the dude. He's taking point. He's the point man. Sadly, Sergeant Stalker and Storm Shadow, Beachhead and Mercer are not making it out alive. They go down swinging. They take them all down with them, but there's one left. And this one I chose because you guys called it with the Jedi Temple analogy, where it was a trap. And I've got Outback as my fifth and final Joe, who is going on a Solid Snake solo infiltration, Operation 1313 Intrude, infiltrating the pit itself, Solid Snake style, one-man army against Cobra. For all the marbles, he is my one and only sole survivor. And
that makes sense for Outback.
Yeah. And just like the visual of him, like with the headband, sneaking around, doing stuff, like this is like he has survived written on a shirt, man. Like
Solid Snake with a mustache,
with like a full on beard. So it's So that's my thing. And in the pit, he's gonna have to fight regular foot soldiers. He's gonna have to fight vehicles. He's gonna have to fight air units. Like everything. Like they're going to it's going to be the entirety of the Cobra and G.I. Joe arsenal at this dude. And he's going to pull it off because, he's scrappy and that's what he does. And then at the end, like it all ends with him up in the woods. I think like up in the woods, like near in like Wyoming, because I think that's where he's from on his file card. I might be wrong. It's either Wyoming or Oregon. And he's just going to retire away to a cabin with the knowledge that G.I. Joe dies with him. So that's my team. I'm getting nervous and giddy just talking about it, just thinking about it. I think it'd be real cool.
Awesome.
So, okay, Tyler.
You get to nerd out now. Friend.
All right.
Yep.
You get to nerd out.
I think I sent you guys my intro for this, but it'll never go anywhere but me, like probably. But I've kind of written a story, and some of it's actually written down. A lot of it's written up here, but this scenario reminds me, it's not the same scenario, but it's similar. And Mike, you touched on something that I wanted to talk about for a minute. And that's, you mentioned like, I don't know how Cobra Commander gets rid of the Joes. You don't just go like, you're probably not going to go brute force, kill all of them. Like, what do you do? And I have an answer for that question.
The government does it for him.
Yes. And that's exactly it. What happens is
for the name,
the correct. So what happens? Let's talk history just real quick. Early 1900s, New York City, massive immigration into the United States, and fairly significant amount of crime, which the same today, but anyway, a lot of crime, and what there's something called the Black Hand letters, which if you're not familiar with, is basically some ransom letters or some demand letters that got delivered, and they were signed like mano nera, which is like Black Hand. They started to get published, like as it would in the Times. The newspaper would publish these letters, and so suddenly this crime wave broke out. It went from like nothing to all over the place, and it was the Black Hand committing these crimes. These guys would sign their letters with mano nera, or would put a picture of a Black Hand, or a crime would happen and they would take a, like ash or whatever, and they would put a black handprint at the scene of the crime. And the whole idea was to intimidate people that there's this massive organization that is the Black Hand. And, so people were terrified. Like there was a period in early 1900s in New York where people were just terrified of this Black Hand gang. But they never could find out who it was, or they caught many individuals, but they could never trace it back to an actual organization. And the prevailing notion today by historians is that there was no Black Hand Gang. It's just somebody signed it, a letter, and it got publicized and it made headlines. And so a bunch of other individuals just started using it to intimidate people. Correct. Just to intimidate people. So it wasn't a big, massive organization. It was just a bunch of individuals using the same symbol to try to intimidate people. So I said all that to say this. We advance out of the 80s and early 90s where G.I. Joe is doing their thing and they're saving the world and they're saving the country. And we're into the modern era where the highly trained special mission force who's going after terrorists are kind of being, they're not redundant, but guess what? Guess what the United States military has been doing for the last, since basically this is 9/11, really before that, but it got really popular on September 11th, is we're fighting terrorists. So now we're actually sending our military, the actual military, the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, to go fight terrorists, and that's what they're specializing in. So now you have two groups. You have this G.I. Joe group, and you have the U.S. military, both receiving funding to fight terrorism. Well, why? We have armed forces. We have a military that can go fight terrorism. We don't need a second force, a special force to go do just this. Using our military, we can do that. And by the way, the Cobra organization that G.I. Joe's been fighting, is it really a thing? Does Cobra really exist? Or is this just a bunch of different terrorist cells or a bunch of different bad actors who have adopted this symbol of the red snake and call themselves Cobra for the sake of adding additional intimidation, for putting a force multiplier on their intimidation and getting what they want? And we all know Cobra exists, but I would argue that the greatest trick that Cobra Commander could ever pull off is convincing the world that Cobra does not exist. And we don't need a team of people dedicated to fight Cobra. And we're spending so many millions or billions of dollars on budget for a team that we don't need. We have the military. We don't need this. So what happens is Cobra stops fighting G.I. Joe. They stop all the obvious actions. They don't roll out with his tanks with their branding on it. They don't come out with Cobra Rattlers with their Cobras on it. They stop all of that. They still have the weapons. They still have the equipment, but they stop all the attacks. And they stop for years. And instead of spending money on munitions and on weapons, they spend money on politicians. And it's only a matter of time before the world is convinced that Cobra, not only do they not exist today, but they were never really a thing. And it was just, we were just overreacting to some small incidents that, it's all overblown. The media comes out and talks about how overblown it was. And sure enough, the funding for G.I. Joe gone. And the organization, in fact, dissolved. That is how Cobra Commander defeats G.I. Joe. However, this is my brain here. You guys remember the episodes? It was episode 26 and 27. Real quick here, and I don't expect you to know what that exactly is, but there were these things created by Destro called synthoids. Anybody remember those episodes?
You're talking about the cartoon?
Yeah, cartoon. Yeah, okay. Real American Hero cartoon. Yeah. D'Artagnan creates these synthoids. They take the place of prominent politicians, generals, and they basically start ordering G.I. Joe to stand down. They start pulling G.I. Joe's funding and redirecting it so G.I. Joe doesn't have enough. They really can't fly their Sky Strikers because they don't have fuel. They don't have funding for fuel to fly them. So this happened in the 80s to G.I. Joe. And so there was a special protocol. There would be a special protocol in my head established by G.I. Joe that says, hey, as we're going through and doing these things and we're seizing assets and we're battling Cobra, we're going to take some of this and set it in reserve for ourselves just in case something like this happens again and they somehow take over the government and try to shut us down. So we have the means to operate independently, maybe not even as G.I. Joe, but we have the means to operate independently and continue to go fight to save the world from Cobra. That, in my world, in my head, is the story that I like to think about different scenarios and episodes for. And this, again, this is the same, but it's similar. And since Mike, you brought up, I don't know how Cobra Commander, how would Cobra Commander get rid of G.I. Joe? In my opinion, that's the way to do it. And at some point in time, it's going to stumble.
I knew how I would do it. I was just thinking like major questions I would want to answer during, as part of like pre-writing.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Use the government to dissolve. We all know congressmen, congresswomen, they're all for sale. So,
yep, bought and paid for by extensive enterprises.
Exactly. and Mars Industries, developing weapons and stuff for the government, that would obviously continue, and they would just stockpile some of their stuff, take the government funding, keep the best stuff for themselves, give some of the other stuff to the country.
Sky Ravens, his tanks, all with like G.I. Joe coats of paint, which just is wrong. It's wrong.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to know that about that for a minute, because that's something I think about probably way more often than I should, but I do. And so anyway,
I mean, we all have jobs, right? We all daydream about not doing this job and then just letting our mind just wander.
Yeah, we get distracted
while we're doing our job.
So, well, now we would like to open the floor to you all. Who's your team of Joes that are left after Cobra wins? What's their primary directive? How are they going to go about doing that? Do they all make it out alive at the end? Let us know in the comments, because we, as you can tell and have heard for the past 40 minutes, we love to nerd out about this stuff. So
we do.
Yeah. So as far as upcoming stuff, the New York Toy Fair is coming up. Be on the lookout for that. We might do a video or two about it. Depends just if they announce anything worth talking about. So, you guys got anything else?
I'm good.
No, I'm starting to whine. I'm starting to count the days to the Joe Fest at DFW G.I. Joe show. So I'm still quite a ways away, but I'm counting the days.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, in that case, I've been Joe. With me as always, Mike and Tyler. And when it comes to the end of G.I. Joe as we know it, do we feel fine? I don't know, but you guys helped us figure it out. Take care. Bye.
Later, y'all.